And even managing the growth was challenging in and of itself. All of a sudden, we had our largest customer go bankrupt, and they owed us over 6 figures.
This is Small Business Celebration, where we introduce you to successful small business owners at their place of business so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough. Welcome to another fantastic episode here on Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about, well, do you pay cash for everything like conventional wisdom, or should you take out a loan for cash flow? We're also going to be talking about how to bolster confidence in your sales team. And to guide us through all this is Mark Barnes, the owner of Minuteman Press of Bakersfield. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Thank you for having me.
And for Visioneers who don't know who you and what is it that you do?
Well, hello Visioneers. I'm Mark Barnes. I own Minuteman Press here in Bakersfield, California, and we support companies with marketing materials, tangible marketing materials, promotional items, branded apparel, signage, and direct mail.
What brought you into the print business and out of the oil fields?
I had been in oil and gas for about 15 years, and I was fortunate enough to work both for the oil companies themselves and to manage oil service company businesses. And when I was working for the oil companies themselves, I worked with some of the brightest, what I would consider some of the brightest engineers that really relied heavily on data to make good decisions. When I was managing the businesses, I was fortunate enough to be around manufacturing. We were generally manufacturing. I got to learn manufacturing, I got to learn data analytics, obviously leadership and management. And then through the course of traveling all the time and whatnot, when I ultimately decided that I wanted to control my own destiny and be around for my young kids, I was looking for something where I could kind of mesh those worlds. And we are a manufacturer, and I felt like there was a lot of overlap. I thought there would be a lot of overlap at least, with processes and that sort of thing, and that maybe it was just a different widget. Boy, was I wrong.
Sure.
The learning curve is extremely steep. In fact, we're a manufacturer, but everything is custom. I don't know of other manufacturers that have every item being customized. You typically think of a production line or stamping, the same aluminum stamp or mold or something like that. But for us, everything's custom. So there's a lot more to it. But ultimately, the leadership piece of it, the manufacturing piece of it, and then just business, which I love anyway.
For Visioneers who aren't familiar with Minuteman Press, what are some of the products and services that you offer?
Well, we offer direct mail marketing.
So you actually print what goes out into the mail?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're really a one-stop shop where we will design, we'll print, we'll address it, we'll pack it, and we'll deliver it to the post office for you. And we actually are a preferred mailer with the post office, so we can actually provide significant discounts on postage, which is really the largest cost driver on direct mail marketing anyway. So any way to bring that down is a huge win. So that's what we do with the direct mail side. Obviously, we support business cards and brochures and flyers and one-sheets and trade show banners. Really anything that you can put a logo or an image on that's not on a screen that you see or read and that you can touch and feel, we can provide for you.
In this digital age, where everything is online, everything's on your phone, why would anybody need anything printed?
It's not a question of print or digital or print versus digital. Mm-hmm. Both of them have their strong suits. Both of them have their pros and cons, right? Mm-hmm. And print can offer something that digital cannot. And that's the sense of touch. When you're holding something, you hold it, feel it, smell it, see it, all of those things. There's a really profound response that happens in the brain. Think of it this way. When a newborn baby is born, and the mother is there in the hospital bed and the doctor gives back that baby to that mother, what do? They make specific time for skin-to-skin contact. As that baby's laying on her skin and they have skin-to-skin contact, there is powerful bonding happening. There is a neurological response happening, developing deep ingrained trust. Ultimately, direct mail, for example, or brochures, they actually go farther in building trust and credibility and legitimizing businesses from digital. So it's not a oil and water scenario. It's really a peanut butter and jelly scenario. They play very well together. In fact, a lot of print drives website visits. These days we're putting QR codes on just about everything, right? Now you scan a QR code on a printed piece, It takes somebody to a website, and now they can maybe fulfill an online transaction or what have you, fill out an online form request for more information. Interestingly, I find this really kind of ironic. Did you know that one of the largest digital companies in the world, maybe one of the largest companies in the world, in Amazon, uses printed direct mail marketing to drive revenue? In fact, upstairs in my office, I have an Amazon catalog that they send out every Christmas time for people like me who have kids, and it's a toy catalog. Now, why would a digital company, the company that effectively put the Sears catalog and the Toys R Us catalog out of business, come full circle and use direct mail marketing to drive revenue? Further, why would they have done it for their 6th year in a row? I assume they have very smart people there. I know they make decisions based on data. Would it make sense that they would continue this for 6 consecutive years if it didn't work?
Minuteman Press is a franchise. Why did you choose the franchise model versus going out on your own and creating your own shingle?
That actually goes back to 2009 to 2010. If you think back to those days, we were in the financial crisis. So I was, at that time, I was working a day job with the oil company, but I was moonlighting as a franchise broker. And so back then I was representing about 350 different franchise brands. In that process, it just opened my eyes to the franchise world in general. Again, if you think to those days, funding was very tight, let's say, and it was hard for people to get lending and the things they needed to go into these businesses. So we didn't go very far in that business. But again, it did open up my eyes to what a franchise could offer in terms of support and that sort of thing.
Why this one?
Well, to be honest with you, I was just looking for other businesses to acquire in general. In my past life in the corporate world, I had undertaken some turnaround efforts. And then in my personal life with some investments in real estate and stuff, I had looked for some underperforming real estate assets that I could turn around. And so I was looking for something that I might be able to, what I'm going to call manage up, if you will. This was one business that I found that had that opportunity because there was a good book of business, had a good reputation, but the owner, the face of the business, unfortunately got sick and passed away. And so the husband had stepped in and was already at retirement age.
What does the corporate Minuteman Press do for you as a franchisee?
So if you go back to my time in the franchise, I started and I took over this business December of 2019. And just 3.5 short months later, COVID happened and the country shut down.
So you owned the business for 3 months?
Yes.
Congratulations!
Thank you. I did not have global pandemic on my bingo card. But fortunately, Minuteman Corporate was there. They were helping us roll out marketing ideas and collateral and really helping give ideas how we can manage our business through that and certain things that maybe we should or shouldn't do. What I will say is they've been very good about basically leaving us alone when we want them to. You know, certain franchises are what I would call big brother or micromanaging even, right? And the Minuteman Press group has been wonderful. They really are there for you when you need them, but they're not overly burdensome. They let you run your business. Every business is unique in that regard.
And if you're finding that your business has grown significantly because of the direct mail that you've gotten through Minuteman Press, might I suggest you get a new house with Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, born and raised and never left Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. Mike Saba is also the sponsor of our first Visioneer question. And Visioneers, if you've got a question, you've got a thought, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear here on Small Business Celebration, just like Heather, who asked, we've been told to pay cash for all purchases, but how do you reconcile this advice with using loans to maintain cash flow?
That's the age-old question, right? And I think there's 2 schools of thought on that. Even if you think about personal finance, you know, you've got Dave Ramsey saying, pay cash for everything, put debt on nothing. And you've got Robert Kiyosaki basically saying, put debt on everything as long as it cash flows for you. Look, if you have cash reserves and you have enough runway, let's say, of cash, and you're able to purchase a piece of equipment or something outright in cash, then by all means do so. I mean, you might as well add it to your balance sheet and you know, as an asset and be able to depreciate it and that sort of thing. But maybe you're a startup, maybe you're on a shoestring budget, or maybe you've been in business 20 years and you just got your cash tied up. and you need a little safety net. Maybe a line of credit might make sense in that situation. So I think it's really based on each situation. I think that also it makes sense to maybe do a little of both.
In general, what have you found to be enough cash runway or enough cash reserve to put aside to keep your business afloat so that you're not panicking when payrolls due?
Well, I'm never satisfied. I'm always, I kind of live in the it's never enough mindset.
Okay.
So, but I think if you can get to 3 to 6 months, I think you'd be doing well. I think that's probably a good goal. Certainly, I would say 1 month, bare minimum, and work, to get to at least that point to start, and then build to maybe 3 to 6 months if possible. But for me, even that, I'm still going to always have it in the back of my mind that it's not enough.
Did you go to university before you went into the oil business?
I did.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm actually a graduate of Cal State University, Bakersfield.
Okay.
Got my degree.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Got my degree in business management there. Graduated magna cum laude.
Congratulations.
Thank you. While I was there, though, in fact, I didn't go to school right out of high school, and so I took a little break. And when I went back to college, I quit working because I wanted to focus. But I quickly found that I was a broke college student and I needed a part-time job.
Right.
So I went to the Student Services Center there on campus and asked them if they had any part-time jobs that they were aware of. And literally while I was standing there talking to the gentleman, the phone rang, his phone rang. And he picked up the phone and he looked up at me and he's speaking to the person on the other end of the phone and he's saying, And he goes, yeah, there's a gentleman standing right in front of me looking for a part-time job. Would you like to speak with him? And he hands me the phone. So I speak with the gal. She calls me in for an interview the next day. And so I go down and interview, and she hires me to file papers in a basement of an oil company. And I filed the papers in the basement. In 3 months, she's like, hey, I like your organization. We're going to put you into the accounting side. I did the accounting side for them. And then eventually they put me into the production office out in the field. And once I graduated, they made me an offer, and it was off from there.
Now, eagle-eye visioneers may notice that I am properly branded. Eagle-eye visioneers may also notice Mark is also appropriately branded. Do you make these sorts of very attractive apparel for visioneers?
Absolutely, we certainly do, yes. So if you have a business and you want to get nice polos, or in our cases, vests, or any sort of uniforming or branded apparel, that's one of our core competencies. We can help you out with that, no problem.
On the back wall, you have a banner that is full of slogans that I have definitely seen before. Why this one?
I guess I'm cliche, but the
only reason they're cliche is because they're true.
I agree with you 100%. And I am a huge believer in attitude. I believe that attitudes are contagious. Whether they're positive attitudes or negative attitudes, they will affect those around you. And it's probably my number one core value to have a positive mental attitude. I believe firmly that your attitude determines your altitude, not your aptitude. I just really think it's important to have those reminders strategically located around the facility. This back wall, that's a really large banner. Anytime, obviously anyone that's out here in the facility sees it all the time, but anytime my other staff can see through that glass or comes out here to if a customer comes to pick up a job and they come in here, it's always being able to be seen and just subtle reminders that...
Subtle?
Well...
It's not real subtle.
Okay, then a very in-your-face reminder. We're pounding it into you. Hey, positive mental attitudes. These are just very important core concepts to me, and I want to make sure that I help my team to realize that and to hopefully adopt them and adapt to them as well.
And that brings us to the Visioneer Game. And the way the game works is I have a random word generator here on my phone, which will create 3 random words in which our guests will have to take each word that I give them and somehow associate each random word with their business. Now, Mark, you do realize that the fate of the entire printables world is based on your ability to get these 3 words correct. Are you ready?
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, your first word is bridge.
It's really important to bridge the gap between print and digital because both things have pros and cons, and print offers strategic benefits that digital can't touch. And so when you utilize them in combination or in tandem, you really bridge that gap and you get the best of both worlds.
Congratulations, you get the
you.
first word right. Well done, you. Are you ready for the second word?
I think so.
Preoccupation.
Preoccupation. Oh boy.
I only saved the easy ones for you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. It's really important to not allow preoccupation to overtake your ability to make decisions. Sometimes you get so caught up in something and you get analysis paralysis and you do nothing.
Right.
It's more important, in my view, to do something, and
Even if it's wrong.
even if it's wrong, hey, you'll learn something, right? And you
Right.
can do it better next time. Don't allow preoccupation to hinder anything. Take action and move forward.
Well done, that's 2 for 2. Okay, you do realize this is for all the marbles. The fate of the world comes down to this. This is Game 7 of the World Series.
It's on.
Are you ready? Your word is conscious.
Conscious. I think it's important to be very conscious of the service that you're providing to your customers. In our business, it's very emotional. Believe it or not, we deal with humans, and humans do tend to wait till the last minute for things. And we oftentimes get phone calls with people freaking out. Oh my gosh, I have this event tonight. I need some XYZ, some business cards, what have you, to go to this networking event. I have nothing. I don't want to look foolish. Please help me. And then it's up to us to own that and get it out the door. And of course, they come in that afternoon singing our praises, etc. And so we're very conscious about making raving fans, and we try to take those jobs and turn those customers into raving fans.
Mark, that's 3 for 3. Congratulations. The world of print is safe at last. Just out of curiosity, did you make a conscious decision to buy your franchise, buy your business 3 months before the COVID shutdown?
Boy, no, I obviously had no idea what was going to transpire 3 months in. But you know what? We actually were able to pivot, and COVID is actually a boon for our business, and we actually were able to grow through it.
And just after you started to recover, or were able to recover coming out of COVID, you ended up, as a business owner, getting kicked into the teeth.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, which time? I mean, COVID itself could be kind of kicking in the teeth.
Sure.
The resulting supply chain issues where we couldn't even get paper could have been seen as a kick in the teeth, because how do you sell something you can't get?
Right.
The resulting employee shortages could have been seen as a kick in the teeth. But I think what you're referring to is the untimely bankruptcy of our largest customer, which was at one time Stria, and then Bitwise acquired them and bought them out. If you're in my community, you have no doubt heard of the fallout of the Bitwise bankruptcy. For us, it was really a punch in the gut, because we had just gone through all these other very significant challenges, and not only survived them but thrived through them. I mentioned we grew during COVID. We grew the following year yet again. We then had exponential growth, and we were on this J-shaped growth curve. And even managing the growth was challenging in and of itself. All of a sudden, we had our largest customer go bankrupt, and they owed us over 6 figures.
Wow.
And so for any business, I don't care if you're a $1 billion company, doing $1 billion in sales with a B, if suddenly you can't collect those dollars and ultimately pay your bills, you're going to go bankrupt.
Right.
And so this was a very real challenge for us, and for me, it was the only real challenge that shook me. Those other challenges didn't shake me. I was confident through all of them, but suddenly when we were facing a situation where we may not have 6 figures of cash, now it's a very real, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about this? I went and got a loan, and I did that quickly. I did it almost immediately, because I knew that if I actually needed the loan,
Right.
I was likely not going to get the loan.
Banks don't like to give you money when you need it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so with that in mind, I went and I took this loan. I said, look, at a minimum, this will provide us peace of mind and runway. And if we actually need it, great, we have some additional runway. But
What was the term on that? Was it a month, a year?
18 months.
Wow,
So,
okay.
You can do the math on low 6 figures over 18 months. That's a pretty large note. It wasn't 0% interest either.
Right.
It was quite a commitment, and created an additional burden from a cash perspective.
And when did you get this thing paid off?
2 weeks ago.
Congratulations! Well done, you!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, we're just like anything. I think business is hard. There's challenges all the time, and it's up to you to problem solve. I feel like we've really developed our problem solving muscle, and this was just the next challenge. But this was the one where I had a real visceral kind of response and reaction to it. Here we are. Now the future is bright again.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is also brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. And Visioneer Fabian asks, what strategies do you employ to bolster the confidence of sales professionals on your team? And this actually drives home to you, because when you were dealing with this whole thing with Bitwise, you had to emotionally overcome this yourself.
Right.
How'd you do that?
I think it really just took time for me. I needed to see more wins come on. I needed to see that we were going to be able to continue to grow. What really would happen was it really made me start second guessing my decision making. But I've always, I'm a man of faith, and I always pray for discernment and good decision making. And I always talk to my team about problem solving and looking at, what are our options? Okay, what's the least risk? And then taking action. And it's no different in this case. We had to do what we had to do. And so when your back's against the wall, you put one foot in front of the other and you go out and do it. But to Fabian's question, from developing confidence in salespeople, I think that even starts way earlier on. I think that starts at a fundamental level around product knowledge. For our business, for example, I mentioned that we have so many different customizations of products and services that we offer that the learning curve is steep. So we want to start a salesperson out here in the bindery department where they can maybe get something out of production and say, oh my gosh, why did it get set up this way? Now I'm going to have to make 3 extra cuts. If they would have set it up this other way, it would have saved me 3 cuts more, and I could be more efficient. And then when they move into production, they know, oh, I should set it up this way so I don't have bindery making these 3 extra cuts. And then when they go into customer service, they say, oh, I can quote it like this because it's going to be more efficient, or I can get 30 out of this sheet of paper instead of 24. And now they have all this robust product knowledge. So when they go out there into the world, they can speak intelligently to the customer about what they have to offer. They can tell them why something might be good or why they might recommend something. When a customer calls and says, or if they're in front of a customer and they ask, do you do banners, or how much is a banner? They can say, well, how are you going to be using it? Is it going to go indoors or outdoors? Do you need grommets, wind slits? Do you need reinforced edges, a rope, a pole pocket? Is it 13, 15, or 18 ounces? Did the customer consider any of this? No, but the salesperson has robust product knowledge, and so they're equipped to be able to ask the right questions and then make the right recommendations. And I'll give you one more. I think it's absolutely critical that a salesperson has conviction. When a customer calls us that had waited till the last minute, literally freaking out. I mean, I challenge you to sit here on a Friday morning to afternoon and get the freak out call in the morning, and then see them in the afternoon when you've got this business card for them and they're so happy and they're going to this event and they've got everything they need to look professional and put together. But it's seeing that process and that transformation from the worrisome to the grateful, that instills conviction in what we're offering. And for a salesperson, I believe that conviction comes through.
Teach us the simple wins philosophy.
I think it's super important for salespeople to gain momentum. Like a flywheel, once it's going, it can build on itself, but you have to get it going. And one way you might be able to do that is, for us, for example, is to go out and get a business card order. So we might make 20, cold calls, let's say. We might do 10 quotes out of those 20. We might get 1 business card order.
Right.
Well, a business card order isn't necessarily going to keep the doors open, for example, for long term. But business card orders are the foot in the door. And some of our very largest clients started with 1 business card order. So I think it's important for a salesperson to generate those little business card orders, because now they see, okay, Yeah, it took 20 calls to get this one business card order, but I can do it again tomorrow. And now it's a numbers game. Maybe I want to make 40 sales calls and get 2 business card orders. And suddenly they see that really it's not hard, it's just numbers. I just need to do the work and it will come. And now they see that it's building on itself, and maybe that customer needed something else. Maybe they needed letterhead and stationery. Maybe they needed business forms. Maybe they needed branded vests or hats, or maybe they need a car wrap. And now we're starting to snowball. And as salespeople see these little wins build into other things and become more robust books of business, I think that really drives home that confidence.
After you bought the franchise, when did you bring on the first employee for you, not who was already here?
When I acquired the business, we had 4 staff that I inherited, and they were great, and they helped keep me sane for that initial period. But we started growing pretty quickly, and so it became very clear, I think within about 5 months, that we needed to add some headcount. So we brought on another customer service person about 5 months in.
You strike me as a business owner that is never content. There's always another mountain to climb, and if there's not another mountain to climb, you're not happy. And yet, at the same time, that creates a lot of stress. How do you deal with that?
Well, I'd say you're pretty spot on. Look, I like a challenge. I like the sense of achievement. And so, yeah, I always continue to, elevate our goals and do everything we can to strive and reach them and surpass them. But you're right, it can absolutely cause a level of uncontentment or stress. For me, looking back at achieving something makes me very content. But it's temporary. Now it's time to set the next goal. But is that stress or is that motivation? For me, it shows itself in the form of motivation, and it actually propels me.
Mark, this has been a real privilege. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
And if Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can give us a call at our office at 661-323-7757, or you can go to our website at www.mmppbakersfield.com.
And after a short message from Planned Exits, we're going to talk about why, if you're wrong, you should admit it. When we come right back.
That you should do business with people that you know, like, and trust. I subscribe to that philosophy. In fact, when it comes to selling your business, I'm going to suggest that you find an exit planner that you know, love, and trust. Most people get to exit only one time. I've had the fortune or unfortune of exiting 6 times. I wish I would have had somebody that I truly knew, loved, and trusted to help guide me down that path. If you'd like to continue this conversation, please visit my website at plannedexits.com.
Why, when you're wrong, you should admit it. Shortly after Small Business Celebration made the bridge from being an audio-only podcast to a audio and video podcast, I was approached by a client to do an informational video about their business, and I was excited about the opportunity to do that. And then when they told me how much they're going to pay to do this, I just went through the roof. This is going to be great fun. And as I was driving back to the office, I was thinking, all the new cameras, all the new video, all the new lighting, all the new audio we could get, this is going to improve the show too. And then I started putting pen to paper when I was at the office going through the details, and I started to realize, wait a minute here, I've got to actually get different cameras and different lighting and I'm going to need crew to make this happen. And I started calling the different vendors, and I started finding out what their pricing was. And I came to the realization I couldn't do this project. And the client had made it very clear they were only going to spend this much to do it. I tossed and turned all night that night. I was trying to think of other routes to go up and around and make all this happen, and by the next morning, there was no 2 ways about it. I was not going to be able to make this project happen. So I walked into the client's office that morning, and I gave them their check back. And I told him I wasn't going to be able to do the project. I was wrong. I was not going to be able to fulfill the obligations to make it happen. And after some pleasant chit-chat, I turned to walk away when the business owner gave me a smirk and a wry grin and said, "Michael, you're not ready to do this today, but when you are ready, let me know." The next day, I did an interview for a small business celebration, and emotionally, I was still reeling from this, and I was in no mood to do this interview, but I did it anyway. And somewhere around the second segment, just out of the blue, I asked the guest, "What's the single biggest lesson that you learned that affects the decisions that you make today?" And that guest thought about it for a minute, as so many guests after that have thought, and I've been surprised on how often the lesson of when they were wrong, they had to admit it, was the single biggest lesson they learned. And week after week after week, this gives me hope. This gives me inspiration, as I hope it does to you as well, that this is a lesson that is a real gut check to a lot of business owners. The lesson we keep learning over and over again because it's vitally important to the success of our business. When you're wrong, you should admit it. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough.
The number one pitfall of being a franchisee is really the royalty piece. So these royalties are off of gross sales. They're not off of your net income or your profit. They're off of your total sales volume. So you have to remove that right off of the top before you figure out all your expenses below that and come up with a net profit number. The number one mistake people make when ordering letterhead is only putting their logo at the top. This is an opportunity to put some products and services at the bottom in the footer. Use this opportunity to market while you're sending out your letters. The more times people see your logo, the closer they get to buying from you. This is why it's so important to put your brand on just about everything you possibly can. Whether it's your apparel, whether it's a delivery vehicle, or anything else, make sure you slap that logo on just about everything and get them to come buy from you. This is how I make a paper airplane. I take the paper, I fold it in half long ways. I'm going to use my lap here to kind of sturdy the paper, and I'm going to make a crease down the center lengthwise. Then I'm going to fold into that crease. Pardon the crudity of this as it's on my lap. I'm going to do the same with the other side. I'm then going to fold it in again on itself. Do that crease one more time. And again, do the same to the other side. I'm going to bring it up and fold it in half, keeping the nose in good shape. Crease along the edge. And then I'm going to fold down to make a wing, and again do the same thing on the other side. And there you have it, your very own paper airplane. One of the most highly overlooked attributes when hiring somebody is hiring somebody that's willing to bet on themselves. Anybody that's willing to take an entry-level position, even though they originally might have wanted something else, but is willing to do it and prove themselves, more often than not, is going to make you a very happy business owner. Here's why you should put your logo on both sides of a coffee mug. See, we're not all right-handed. Some of us drink coffee with our left hands, and if you only put it on one side, nobody's going to see your logo. Make sure you put your logo on both sides of the coffee cup and serve all the customers and show your brand to everybody else that wouldn't normally see it with left-handed coffee drinkers. People often ask me how many envelopes can fit in a standard 2-foot postal tray. And the answer is, it depends. But in general, we'll put about 250 to 350 envelopes in one of these 2-foot E&M postal trays.